Welcome to the Challenging Child Podcast, where you'll discover ideas to help change the behavior of a child who is aggressive, defiant, controlling, or dishonest. Let's join Jill Tree from Stressed Parent.
So today we're going to be looking at how to play mind games of the positive kind. So I trained in something called neurolinguistic programming many, many years ago, and it is all about our mindset, how we see things, reframing things, which means you might have something challenging happen, but you think about it and you see it in a different way. There's all sorts of mind games we play with neurolinguistic programming. Neurolinguistic programming, neuro is our neurology, our mind, our brain, our thinking. Linguistic is the words we use, and particularly the words we use inside our heads, when we're talking to ourselves, or our judgments about other people. And programming is about how all of that is sort of mixed up to create our thoughts, our feelings, our behaviors. So if we just change one of those, it has a knock-on effect on the others. So for example, if you think about the physiology, the physiology of a depressed person, down, weight of the world on the shoulders. And then we think about the physiology of a 3-year-old who's just got an ice cream, up, excited. And we can play those sorts of mind games. It's not about necessarily denying our feelings, but it's recognizing that actually we are more than our feelings, and we have techniques, we have abilities, capabilities of going beyond some of our limitations. I'll give you an example of that, a true life example of when I had to play mind games with myself in a survival situation. This is a true story. A long time ago, I became lost on the sides of Mount Kenya for 5 days on my own. I'd climbed Mount Kenya with a friend of mine. I'd got serious altitude sickness. I became very disorientated. And on the way down, it took 4 days to climb it. We were expecting it to be 2 days coming down. I got completely lost. I got disorientated, lost the path, and I lost my friend. And initially, I was terrified, absolutely terrified. And then I had to change that thinking. I had to change that thinking to survive. And I chose to be excited. I was going to accept the challenge this mountain was offering me. And I was going to take on this challenge, and I was going to beat this mountain. And I was going to get off before Christmas Day, because I became lost 5 days before Christmas. The outcome, I mean, it was a completely life-changing experience. I won't go into any more details of that, but the outcome of that was that I did actually reach safety 5 days later on Christmas Eve at lunchtime. And it was a life-changing experience, being on the mountain, living like an animal, rising with the sun, sleeping at sunset, being completely in tune with nature. That's another whole story, because we're not, we are part of nature. We are nature. Nature is in us. That's a whole nother podcast in itself. So the mind game of choosing how I perceived this experience, I would say, saved my life. Now, that might be dramatic, but there were 17 men on that mountain looking for me. A search party was organised. My friend got off the mountain the next day and organised a search party. 17 men. There was the police, the park rangers, the Kenyan army, all the Kenyan farmers who had aeroplanes were out in their planes searching for me. A Norwegian billionaire who was on holiday was out. He released his helicopter and pilot to go out searching for me. My family got the message that your daughter is lost. We're looking for her. And then 2 days later, we're calling off the search party. There's no hope of finding her alive. But I was very, very much alive. And it was my thinking and my mindset that led me to keep going, to be positive, that each step was a step forward. And Nonviolent Resistance, the program I'm trained in, a parenting program to help people like you who've got really challenging children, comes from Gandhi. And looking at Gandhi and how he put up peaceful protest to oppression. And Gandhi always said that we need to develop the ability to endure. And I know that you're enduring a lot. I know that you're enduring an awful lot of challenge from your children. And it's not easy. It is not easy. But if you can really control your mind, you won't be able to control your child. It's very difficult to control a controlling child, but you can control yourself. You can control your reactions. You can learn and improve your ability to control your reactions. And you can control your mindset. At any moment in time, you can choose to think differently. And one way of doing that is by having reference experiences. So the first mind game is to think about reference experiences. So think about a time when you were just so proud of yourself, or you surprised yourself. You know, you did learn to swim as an adult, or you did play in an orchestra, or you did run a marathon, or you did say no to a child and they accepted it. Have a reference experience. It doesn't have to be getting lost on the mountain. That's a massive one for me. It's massive. It happened a long time ago, but I always think I survived that. I can survive anything. So it's a massive reference experience, but it could be small. It could be small. You know, I got that child to bed half an hour earlier. I helped that child manage a tantrum. These are all reference experiences that build up to something that help you realize that you're bigger than the problem. You are bigger than the problem, no matter how big the problem might seem to be. And that's another mind game. That's another mind game, isn't it? If we start to turn our problems into really massive mountains, I want you to start to bring them back down to more realistic size by talking to people, sharing your worries, your concerns, your fears, your upsets, using supporters around you to help bring this problem back into something that you might be able to have some influence over. We're not going to change our children overnight, but we hopefully will have some change over time. And it's having that positive mindset, that hope. I never, ever gave up hope when I was lost on that mountain. 5 days, I never gave up hope. I was going to get off this mountain. I was going to beat this mountain. I was going to have Christmas Day with some other people and not have Christmas Day on my own. So having a sense of hope and positivity, really, really important, no matter the challenge of the child. And one way to do that, next mind game for yourself, is to have an attitude of gratitude. So no matter what's happening in your life, if you can, when you go to bed at night or sometime in the day, just think about, well, what have I got to be grateful for? What have you got to be grateful for? Is it you've got a lovely home? Is it you've got some really supportive friends? Is it you've got a loving partner? Is it that you just love walking in nature and you've got nature nearby you? Is it that you love your job? Is it that you love being able to give up your job to focus on your children? What is it that you're grateful for? Is it your health? Is it the fact that your heart is beating? Um, is it that you can breathe clean air? Be grateful, be grateful, be grateful, because it really helps our mindset. Um, I'm grateful for my child and all his challenges, because if I really thought about it, I look at my friends who don't have children, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful that I have a child, even though he might challenge me massively. I remain grateful for that. So, when you're having real difficulties, you know, you're just about getting into a massive argument, or you're having things thrown at you, or there's fists coming your way. Obviously, those are all big things, and that's what my main course is there to help you sort out and to reduce radically, if not completely eradicate. But if you can coach yourself, I will always do my best to remove myself from a difficult situation with my son or with anybody else and start to coach myself. And I talk to myself a lot, maybe out loud, can just be in my head. Do you talk to yourself? Is that the sign of madness, talking to ourselves? I think we all do it. But I will coach myself, Jill, what is the right thing to say? And when is the right time to say it? And in that moment, probably isn't the right time to say. And if you catch yourself with negative thinking and you're talking to yourself negatively, oh, why have I been so stupid? Why have I said yes when I meant no? Oh, why do I give in to them so easily? Why am I bullied by this child? Why do I allow myself to be bullied? I want you to give that negative thinking and that negative talking to yourself a bit of a Mickey Mouse voice, or just something really ridiculous. It just sounds ridiculous the way you're saying it, because it will loosen the power of it if you make it sound really silly. So that's another mind game. Another mind game, and it's quite a spiritual one, if I happen to be quite spiritual in my thinking and my way of operating, you don't need to be. But in spiritual thinking, there is no such thing as reality. It's all just a story. It's a story. You know, when I'm worrying about something that hasn't even happened yet, that's a story in my head. So we want to really question our reality, and how real is it, or is it a story inside our head? And if you're a worrier, then you can play a mind game. The mind game is to have a stop loss on your worries. So you could say to yourself, I'm just going to worry about this. I'm going to worry about it really hard. I'm going to worry for 5 minutes and no more. I'm just going to worry for those 5 minutes and then no more. You can allow yourself 10. You can allow yourself 15, however long, but then you stop. You create a stop loss on the worry. And you've done your worrying for today. You put it into a compartment. You imagine maybe you've got a Tupperware box and you stick the lid on it. You might stick it into a hot air balloon and let it fly away, float away. they're all mind games. They really, really help. These things really, really help us function more effectively, more powerfully as parents of challenging children. So have that mind game. And the final one around that is to act as the observer. So notice what's happening without getting engaged in it, if at all possible. So you just slightly distance yourself. So you might want to play the game. I had a parent who played the game of pretending she was a parenting expert who'd come into the house to observe what was going on, to then advise the family on how to change things. And she acted that out really, really, really well. She just observed. So there might be sibling rivalry going on. And she'd observe the sibling rivalry between her two children, and she wouldn't get engaged in it and see that one was hurting the other and that she needed to stop it. She would just observe, oh, there's some hitting going on now. And she might say it out loud, and that might be enough for the children to think, oh, what's going on? And that might be enough of a distraction and a way to stop something like that from happening. But certainly being the observer, it just keeps us a little bit removed from what's going on so that we aren't quite so emotionally engaged in it. Now, I feel that I have little me and I have big me. And little me, I can get sad and I can get small and I can get, become a bit of a victim, and I can feel poor me, and that's little me energy. And I can be big me, this powerful woman who can survive jungles, who can speak in public, who can change people's lives through my work. And you've got that too. You've got that too. And so I want you to, every time you feel like you're in your little me persona, start observing yourself being in the little me persona. Just find the big me to observe. Observe that. If you have a question or a worry, ask that question of yourself or of anybody else from the big you, because you'll get bigger answers. When we ask the questions from the victim us, we don't get solutions. Oh, why is this always happening to me? Is not an empowering question. If we ask it from the big part of us, what can I do to change this? So different and so much more powerful and so much more empowering for you as the parent, or whatever it is in your life that you're dealing with. So being an observer, and coming from that big you, asking those questions. And if you're struggling with that, if you're struggling, I haven't got a big me, Jill. I'm just feeling so rubbish about myself. There is no big part of me at the moment. Well, then act as if. And you can act as if you've got a big you, or you can act as if you know somebody and you act as if you're them. So I'll give you an example, 2 examples, 3 examples of this. When I go to the gym and I go to my Pilates class, and we're doing balancing exercises on one leg, I've got an issue with one of my feet. You don't need to know all about my feet, but I've got an issue with one of my feet. I've had surgery on my foot, and it's harder to balance on that foot and that leg than the other one. So when I'm doing my balancing on this left leg that's more of a challenge, I'm acting as if I'm Darcy Bustle. Now, Darcy Bustle was a famous, well, she still is famous. I think she's still alive. Darcy, are you alive? She was a ballerina, and she was a judge on Strictly Come Dancing, if you ever watched Strictly Come Dancing in the UK. But she's a very, very talented ballerina who could probably balance on her one leg for hours on end. And I would act as if I was Darcy Bustle. And lo and behold, my mindset is just so focused on that poise, on that balance, and on that absolute control that this prima donna ballerina has. And that helps me balance. Okay. So it's a mind game. I'm not Darcy Bustle. I've never been to ballet in my life, but it really helps me. So when you want more poise, more calm, more presence, parental presence, more peace, more ability to resist your child's challenging behavior, find the personality, the persona that's going to really help you with that. They could be sitting on your shoulder. You could actually be acting as if you're them. And I did this a long time ago when I was learning to scuba dive. I was petrified of various exercises we had to do in the water, underwater. One of them was we had to take our masks off and put it back on. And then the mask would be full of water, and then you had to blow out through your nose to clear all the water out of your mask. And I found this so difficult. I've got water going up my nose, my eyes are getting sore with all the chlorine in the swimming pool. This is just in the swimming pool. I've got to do it 12 meters down at the bottom of the sea next. How am I going to cope? I really struggled, and I used to splatter all the way up to the top of the swimming pool in panic. And I knew I wasn't going to get my qualification in scuba diving unless I acted as if, now this is showing my age, I acted as if I was Jacques Cousteau. You may not know who he is. He was an amazing undersea water diver, whatever you want to call it. He had a program called The Undersea World of Jacques Cousteau. I used to watch it as a child. I think it was probably in black and white. I can't remember. It was a long time ago. But I acted as if I was Jacques Cousteau to get through my scuba diving exams. And I'll never forget it, because suddenly I'm imagining I've got the television cameras, the underwater cameraman woman over there, and cameras are rolling, the producer's watching me. I just take off my mask and I just put it back on again, and I clear. You have to hold it like this, and you blow through your nose, and all the water comes out the bottom. Easy, easy peasy. So that's a mind game, acting as if. And then when you've had some success, with any of the mind games, all of them, one of them, then have some celebration. Recognize that you can do this. Have a celebration. Give yourself a pat on the back. Be grateful for your capabilities, and that will spur you on to keep at it. Keep at it. And the more we put up resistance, and the more we step into our own bodies and our own power, the more we will be able to influence our challenging child. So experiment. Spend this time this week trying them all out for size. Practice makes perfect. Repetition is the mother of skill. Might not come naturally. Nothing that's new comes naturally. Think about learning how to ride a bike and the little kid who was wobbling all over the place. Think about how if you learn how to drive a car, mirror signal maneuver, changing the gear, clutch down, accelerator up, it wasn't natural, was it? But now you could probably drive with your eyes closed. Don't recommend it, but you get the idea. Good luck with your positive mind games.